Hey, welcome to The Explainer, the show where we break down big ideas into simple visual guides. Today, we're getting into something fascinating: Patrick King's Read People Like a Book. We're going to unpack the art and, yeah, the science of figuring out what makes people tick. Here's our roadmap. We're going to start from the inside and work our way out. First, we'll tackle the why. What really motivates people? Then we'll look at the clues they give off without even knowing it. After that, we'll get into some cool frameworks for decoding personalities, how to spot a lie, and finally, how to observe like Sherlock Holmes. Let's get into it. All right, first up, understanding motivation. I mean, to get why someone does what they do, you've got to look under the hood, right? You have to figure out what's powering their internal engine. So why do people do what they do? It's not always so obvious. It usually boils down to a handful of core drivers. A mix of wants, fears, what society expects. And the crazy part? A lot of the time, we don't even realize what's driving us. So let's talk about the shadow self. This is a concept from Carl Jung, and it's basically all the parts of ourselves we try to hide or ignore. Our fears, our anger, stuff we're not proud of. But here's the thing, that stuff doesn't just go away. It leaks out. Think about someone who grew up in a super strict household. They might go off the rails later in life, and that's that repressed need for freedom just bursting out. When you get this concept, you start to see people and yourself with a lot more empathy. And then you've got Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've probably seen this before, right? It's like a video game. You can't unlock the next level until you've completed the current one. If someone's worried about where their next meal is coming from, that's a physiological need. They're just not going to be thinking about their life's purpose or self-actualization. Their motivation is all about survival. It's that simple. Okay, so we've covered the invisible why, but how does all that internal stuff actually show up? Now we're moving on to the outside, decoding all those little signals people send out, often without saying a word. And this is absolutely key. Our bodies just don't lie the way our words can. See, the emotional part of our brain, the limbic system, reacts instantly, way before our conscious mind can filter it. And those gut reactions, they leak out through our body language. So, you want to know what to look for? Check for these pacifying behaviors. It's a term from a former FBI agent, and it's gold. When you see someone tapping their foot, crossing their arms super tight, or rubbing the back of their neck, that's a tell. It's their body's way of saying, I'm stressed right now, even if their voice sounds perfectly calm. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Micro expressions. These are lightning-fast facial movements. We're talking less than a second that reveal what a person is truly feeling. And get this, they're universal. A flash of disgust in New York looks the same as a flash of disgust in Tokyo. It's like a tiny, unfiltered window into their real emotions. A perfect example is a smile. You want to know if it's real? Look at their eyes. A genuine smile makes the corners of their eyes crinkle up, crow's feet. A fake smile? That's usually just the mouth. But, and this is a big but, you can't just rely on one single cue. That's a rookie mistake. You have to look for clusters of signals, a bunch of things that all point to the same story. All right, so spotting little cues is great for understanding a moment. But what about understanding the person? For that, we need to zoom out and look at their consistent patterns. We need a framework, and that's exactly what personality types give us. You've probably heard of systems like the Myers-Briggs, right? The MBTI? It's basically a way to sort out our natural preferences. A classic example is extroversion versus introversion. It's not about being shy or outgoing, it's about your battery. Do you get energized by being around people, or do you need to be alone to recharge your batteries? Here's he took that idea and boiled it down into 4 main temperaments. And this is super helpful for quickly getting a sense of what someone's core values are. Are you talking to a guardian who values security and order above all else? Or maybe a rational who is just all about strategy and finding out how things work? But if you want to go even deeper, you have the Enneagram. This one isn't just about what you do. It's about why you do it. It gets right to our core fears and motivations. For example, the achiever isn't just driven. They're driven by a deep fear of being worthless. And the peacemaker isn't just agreeable. They're driven by a deep need to avoid conflict and keep everything harmonious. Okay, let's put all this together. We've talked about internal drives. We've talked about external cues. Now let's apply it to something pretty high stakes: lie detection. And look, this isn't about being cynical. Think of it more as a form of self-defense. First things first, throw out that idea of a single tell, like if someone looks away, they're lying. It's just not that simple.
Spotting lies isn't a superpower, it's a method. Your goal isn't to be a mind reader. Your goal is to make it so hard to lie that the person's story just falls apart.
So, how do you do that? You increase their cognitive load. That's a fancy way of saying you make their brain work overtime. See, lying is already mentally exhausting. You have to invent the lie, remember the lie, and act normal all at once. So, when you throw a wrench in the works, like asking them to tell their story backwards, you're forcing them off script. The extra mental pressure is usually when the cracks start to show. All right, for our final section, let's bring it all home and learn how to be a bit more like Sherlock Holmes. We're talking about the power of noticing details and making those quick, freakishly accurate observations. And this isn't just a fun fictional idea. It's a real thing called thin slicing. Believe it or not, psychologists have found that our snap judgments, our gut feelings, can be stunningly accurate. It's not magic, it's just your brain doing what it does best, recognizing patterns at lightning speed based on tiny slivers of information. So, you want a practical tool to try this out? Use indirect questions. People have canned answers for direct questions like, what do you value? But ask them something like, if your house was on fire, what one thing would you save? And boom, their answer tells you everything about their real priorities. It cuts right through the fluff. Look, at the end of the day, all these tools, they're not about judging people or getting one up on them. The real point is to build more empathy, to forge deeper connections. When you really understand the why behind what someone does, it changes everything. So, the big question I want to leave you with is, now that you have these tools, how are you going to use them?